So incentivization in the channel, has always been, a big deal for partner programs. So let's jump into a little bit around, what are the differences, or what incentives do we see vendors now using as relates to their SaaS products? So again, Nahul and John, I'll kind of pick your brain on this one. Nahul, if you want to go ahead and tell us, what are the activities you see vendors using, please?
Sure. So there are quite a few parameters that the vendors are looking at when they're trying to incentivize channel partners around SaaS deals, right? New logos, service delivery, so customer satisfaction ratios. So a lot of these vendors are also creating customer success management teams internally who are rating partners on their service delivery and customer satisfaction polls, right? And those partners are being better incentivized. We are seeing better incentives for competitive displacement. So you sold X vendor, you displaced an X vendor to a Y vendor, and so on and so forth. We are seeing if the same vendor is still doing a transitioning from on-prem to SaaS, which means both offerings are still available, we see a phenomenal amount of incentive being provided if the partner goes and sells a SaaS deal rather than an on-prem deal. Because they want to do that transition, they need to move away from having these locked in on-prem deals, because once locked in, those are the ones they'll still have to service and support for a time. And that's what they're trying to move the partners up to, saying, if you sell more SaaS, you get more margins, you may get more discounts and stuff like that. Renewals, I think, is again not very I'm not saying, I think a lot of vendors are not very partner friendly in terms of renewal percentages or incentives, right? But I think that's a great criteria to have to incentivize partners, because renewal means it's not just renewal margins or incentive for the partner, but it's ensured revenue for the vendor also. It's somebody doing local account management and ensuring that that deal does not go elsewhere, right, next year. Because SaaS, a lot of customers perceive SaaS from the perspective that it's on SaaS, I don't have an infrastructure cost. I can just change my, the application the day I want to. It's just a matter of data migration at times and setup. So renewals become critical, and partners should be incentivized for that aspect also.
Sorry, and John, anything? That's great. No, yeah. And John, anything to add?
Yeah, I think the only thing, just briefly I'd add to that is, think about this now, particularly for your service partners. Remember back to the point that you're now a SaaS vendor offering service. So some of the very large partners that can help you in that space, like the global system integrators, are less interested in financial incentives and rewards. Their people are more interested in getting training and certification and maybe badges, or even maybe gamification. So some of the big service partners that you might start to engage with, you have to think about connecting with their people, so connecting the incentives at the individual level rather than the company level. And you may have to think about the ethics and the policy behind what incentives that they will allow you to distribute into their teams as well. So very, very different models, people-centric, personalized, and not always financial.
Just one more incentive model that I would add here, and most SaaS vendors should definitely look at, is a lot of SaaS vendors do a tremendous amount of digital marketing campaigns globally because it's cross-geo possible, which brings in a lot of inbound leads. One of the key aspects they could incentivize channel partners with is passing on some of these leads to those partners in those countries so that they are able to grow that business also. Right? Inbound leads is brilliant because that helps the partner grow his own top line and bottom line. And at the same time, it looks as an incentive, not the typical, I give you one and you give 3 back, but here's 10 and go and help me close this, right? So, I mean, that makes it a lot more engaging, and it's looked as an incentive too.
Yeah, I think one of the things we've seen, and I've seen the vendors that are successful in SaaS, is very much, Nahul, you mentioned it at the top there, was around the customer success teams and customer success managers. People are investing heavily in putting those in place to drive that customer adoption, because it's one thing selling SaaS. It isn't like old on-premise solutions where they're very integrated, very hard to, let's say, throw out. So if you're not driving customer adoption, then that renewal will come around and vendor and customers will have choices, and obviously partners will have choices and can change. So I do see, vendors paying heavily on customer adoption rates, they call it, and then measuring those is tricky.